nothing but the best. I got a shit though. So I'm back again for another video here. I don't know how long it's been since the last one, but this time I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Instead of a motorcycle, this time I'm going to be working on my ATV. This is a 2002 Honda TRX 350 ES or Rancher 350. I've owned this for about 10 years. A couple years ago I did a new jug on it and a new piston, new rings, and it was good. Unfortunately, I went to do a valve adjustment and I had a friend of mine was helping me out, and I'm pretty sure he tore the threads out of the head. So I did my best. I tried to helicoil it. That didn't work. I tried to upsize it and put a larger bolt in it. That didn't work. So I did the next best thing. So this is the packaging that the cylinder head came in. It was about $200 on Amazon. Open her up here. So yeah, this came with the valves already installed, valve seals. It came with an NGK spark plug, which is nice. And the only thing I had to buy was this gasket set that was about like $20. This is like a complete top-end gasket set, so it came with everything, including new valve seals, head gasket, valve cover gasket, all that good stuff. So, I guess the only thing left to do here is kind of dig into it. So, I'll probably spare you most of the experience and just kind of do little highlights. So let's get this thing off the ground. And that seems like a pretty manageable height. So I gotta get the seat off, plastics off, gas tank off, and I know dealing with this petcock's a real pain in the butt. So, time to get at her. I've got all the plastics in the seat off there. As you can see, I've got pretty much all of this all torn down here. I had this little length of fuel line that I put on there with a drill bit on the end just to kind of keep fuel vapors from getting to me. And whoever invented these is probably one of the smartest people in the world, because every time you go to take something apart, you're going to break a bunch of them. Maybe not every single one, but you're going to have to buy more. So up next here, I've got to get the exhaust taken off. I'll pop off the valve cover. I'm going to have to remove the boot for the carburetor there, and then I should be able to remove the head studs and pull the head off. I'm going to do a couple bolts that gave me a hard time, like the 2 muffler bolts and the engine mount bolt. I thought I broke the engine mount bolt when I undid that. It made a god-awful sound, but thankfully, I didn't. This right here, that's what's causing all of this. So I've got everything off here now. Originally, I wasn't going to bother removing the jug, but I loosened the bolts off anyway, so I figured I'd just pull it off and replace the gasket. It is going to require a little bit of a re-hone, but there's nothing that my fingernail's grabbing onto in there. Nothing overly concerning, so I'm just going to give her a quick hone, toss her back on, and start throwing her back together. So there's the action in there. Everything's all off. Here's the old head. There's the jug. I got just about everything kind of laid out here. Here's the new head, the valve cover. These are the bolts that hold the head and the jug down to the lower end. Rockers. It's another day here now, and I've got most of it back together here. So we've got the head on, found top dead center. I'm just getting ready to bolt the exhaust up, so I need to put the muffler on first. That way it doesn't go in all cockeyed. But yeah, it was pretty straightforward. Watched a couple videos on Partzilla on how to do it, and it's been pretty good. Hopefully it starts up and doesn't make a bunch of crunching sounds. I'm going to do the valve adjustment. So the engine needs to be rotated to top dead center. On the compression stroke, there's a marking on the side of the engine case. It is just like a removable Allen head plug. It is right here. There's no light on it, but there's a T. Anyway, so now that's on there. Just make sure there's a little bit of play in the valves here, which that is a lot of excessive play. The actual measurement for it is like 6/1000. So I'm just gonna loosen off the jam nuts, turn in the screw, and feel it out with my feeler gauge and just make sure it's good to go. There we go. There we go. So now what I want to do is I want to turn these in just so it only just kind of grabs and drags on here. Move my feeler gauge back and forth just enough that I can feel it drag. Shouldn't really take a whole lot. So right there it's almost clamped. And I can move my feeler gauge. So now that these screws are adjusted, I'm going to hold this screw stationary and I'm going to tighten it with my my 10 mil wrench here. So I've got my valve set. I've got 6/1000 of play on both. It's the same measurement for intake and exhaust. It was kind of hairy torquing those at the end. I was almost afraid that I was going to strip them out. But these two jam nuts, those are done at 12 foot-pounds, or at least that's what Partzilla told me. And yeah, I'm kind of at a standstill now until I get my new valve cover bolts. The reason why I have to change this is because the bolt that goes inside this hole right here, that's stripped out. I tried to helicoil it, it didn't work. I tried to oversize it, it still leaked. So brand new head. I'm gonna make sure that I follow whatever the torque spec is for that this time. That way there shouldn't be any sort of risk of pulling the threads out. And yeah, I should be able to start it up. I'm not gonna bother bolting this up right now, but yeah, that's about as far as I can go for now. Just got a phone call from the Honda dealership. Bolts came in. So I guess now it's time to get the valve cover put back on this thing and fill her up full of oil, and we'll give her a test fire. Hopefully it doesn't start knocking, weird ticking, any kind of bad noise or leaking oil. Now I'm getting ready to pour 2 of these in here. It's just the cheapest oil at Canadian Tire. And instead of putting all this back together just in case it starts to leak, I've got this auxiliary fuel tank, so I'm just going to run this fuel line right to the carburetor over here. And as long as it runs and it doesn't leak anything, then I'll throw it all back together. But before I commit to putting all the plastics back on and the actual gas tank back on, I'm going to make sure that there's no weird noises, there's no strange leaks or anything, and that should hopefully be it. Here we go, first startup. Runs. That's awesome. I'll let it run for a little while now. So the quad's been running for about 5 minutes now. I think I'm just going to let it keep running. They can only be good for it. Once it's done running right now on the cheap oil, I'll throw a new filter in there and actually put like some half decent oil in it. But for now, it's running, it's not leaking, it's not making any weird sounds, so I guess I didn't mess this up. Looking forward to getting all the plastics on there and getting it back out in the woods. And she's going to put in some work this winter, moving some snow again. So I've got a couple hours put on the quad now. I'm going to drain out that crappy old oil and get some new stuff in there, probably with a few lost metal shavings in there. So here we go. So if I was doing tires or something, this would be pretty convenient. As you can see, I've taken the side extensions off because I don't need those for my motorcycles. And I wasn't really thinking ahead to doing this, so I took everything off the lift table and put it outside so it wasn't in the way in here. So now I got to take this off the lift table, move it off, and then crawl around on the ground like I don't want to do. But I don't really have a choice. I've got probably one of the sketchiest setups that I've ever done here. I'll show you what's going on. So in the front, I've got 2 jack stands. In the rear, I've got my little scissor jack. I'm hoping that that should just give me enough clearance to just get down there and do everything that I need to do instead of being right on ground level, but I should have left the side ramps on the left. This would have been a lot easier, but it is what it is. I'll have a little peek here. So much glitter's in here. Yeah, there's a little bit of stuff in there. So the guy I bought this thing from, I'm assuming he stripped the oil drain plug bolt at some point while he owned it. Anyway, it's got an oversized oil drain plug bolt in it. The torque is supposed to be 24 foot-pounds, but I'm probably going to run it a little bit less than that. There's a lot of people that don't really like to do this or say it's bad, but I always put a little bit of this thread sealant on the threads of my drain plugs. So this copper washer is looking all right. I'll just clean the old sealant off there. Put some thread sealant on here and throw it back in. So I just torqued the drain plug. I did it to, I think it was 230 inch-pounds or something like that. Anyway, it worked out to be like 18 or 19 foot-pounds, so I think that should be plenty to hold all that oil in. Anyway, time to pull the filter off, and I guess once the filter's off, throw the new one in, top it up with oil, check the level, go for a ride. I splurged for the expensive stuff, the Honda branded oil filter. And there's some pretty important writing on there. Lets you know what side goes where. So it says, this side end spring towards engine. So there's the spring. And we'll jam that right here. And I'll bolt everything back up. So these 3 bolts right here on the oil filter housing, those get 9 foot-pounds or 108 inch-pounds. So I'm about to torque those up. Time to pour in 2 quarts of Canadian Tire's finest. Nothing but the best. We got all the oil and filter all changed on the unit there, and I had her out for a pretty decent ride. Anyway, I'll show a couple clips of that, and this will be the end of the video. Until next time.
I gotta go shit.